Hello, everyone, and happy Thursday. My name is Gihan Hyde, and I am the founder and CEO of Communique. We are the UK's fastest growing ESG strategy implementation and communication advisory firm. What we do is we help you to integrate environmental, social, and governance into your business model, communicate it effectively, train your employees in understanding what the roles that they play in ESG, in your ESG commitment, but finally help you to audit the effectiveness of your commitments. Today's session is actually a very special session for me personally because it's all about the collapse of the Silicon Valley banks. I have some friends of mine who have been affected by it. So I was looking to see how they were being helped and how I can help them personally. Because as a founder, I know how difficult it is and how panicked I would have been if that was myself. When I was speaking to someone, then someone suggested that I have to talk to Truly Financial and specifically to its founder, Kanchan Kumar, because as it happens, they actually help save the day. So Kanchan, can you first of all thank you for coming on board, and would you mind introducing yourself and telling us a bit about Truly Financial?
Thank you so much, Jihan, for having us over here. I'm really proud of the work that you are really doing. I believe it's extremely important to weave ESG into the consciousness of every business and business model of every business. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing, and once again, thank you for having me here. Truly Financial is building a global neobank, which is designed for small businesses ground up. I have been a small business owner myself. Before running this, I used to run SaaS company with my co-founder. Before that, I used to run technology company. Um, I know firsthand how painful it is in today's day and age, where just about every business has at least one employee, one contractor, half a team member, customer all over the world. But your banking is still very local. Your banking only allows you to deal with your people in the country, currency of the country where you're based in, and which is why we decided to start Truly Financial, because we believe every small company should have exactly the same financial tools and infrastructure which a large corporate typically has, with hundreds of people in their finance team and global presence. Because just about every small company has a global presence. You have a global presence as well, right? I mean, I know that your team members are spread across.
Correct.
So obviously, everyone can relate to this, and which is why we started Truly Financial. What we really do is to provide you multi-country banking all from one place. You get banking in four different, so you get banking in EU region, UK, Canada, US. We are adding LATAM to that. Plus, we give you 32 currency accounts where your customers can send you money and you can just keep it in those currencies without having to force to convert it back to your local currency. And most importantly, you can pay your suppliers in their local currency so that no one has any currency risk, right? So that's what we do Truly Financial as a in a nutshell. Last couple of weeks really has been crazy for banking sector globally. Everyone knows that. We did not foresee this coming, but we certainly knew that there will be a time in the day when banks like ours, which are fully digital, which don't have branches, which are built on technology platform, which are built on a different philosophy, would be recognized. It's very unfortunate that banking system is going through this, but it's also giving an opportunity for smaller and newer banks like ours to showcase how we are different from everyone else. Uh, Coming to Silicon Valley Bank, I can literally give you blow by blow account because we were on the front line of how this unfolded. It was Thursday afternoon. I was getting out of meeting, and while I was in meeting, a meeting around 1 o'clock, I saw I had at least 10 missed calls. And these missed calls were not usually when there's a fire, it's your team which is trying to reach you. Hey, something is wrong. But these missed calls were not from fire. These missed calls were from our customers. And because many of my customers have my phone number, because that's how we love to operate as founders. We want to be available to founders. They were saying, hey, there's a problem. There's a run on the bank. And we said, wow, which bank? It's not very common to have run on the bank in today's day and age, not in America. They said, it's Silicon Valley Bank. I said, pardon my language, bullshit. Silicon Valley Bank cannot go down, because I personally know they're a very strong bank. I know their team members, everyone else, and they've been very supportive of startup ecosystem. I said, no, I think this is rumor, just don't believe the rumors. And then I got back to office and I started digging up, talking to people, and I realized there is actually a problem. And now people were worried about their money. People were worried about how do we take money out. Their systems were choking out in terms of wires going out. They were backing up. They were not intentionally blocking it, but just that they were backing up because too many people tried to take money out. And there were two kinds of situations which were happening. Other three kinds of situations were happening. People had money in their account and they were trying to bring it out, but they did not have any other bank account to take it to. Second type of people, where they had other bank account, but those which may not be truly financial, but they had limits of how much money can you really take because of compliance reasons. And there is in the bank, but that was the only bank account. How do I receive payment from my customer? Payroll amount of money which I take it out. I need a bank account now. On is making customer account process really smooth. Now this was time that story. How fast can you read accounts, because customers need accounts like that now, not too early time to bring them out.
Kanchan, I'm sorry to stop you. You are cutting off. I wonder if it's the internet. We can't hear you properly.
You can't hear me?
No.
Can I take my phone off and it works better?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, until Kanchan sorts out his technology. I think one of the reasons I was interested in this is because for me, governance is key, and it's a key part of ESG integration. When we normally come into an organization and help them to integrate sustainability within the company, we always look at what the process is, what are the procedures, but most importantly, we also look at what is the power that the board has between themselves. Because if you're not aware of it, each board member holds a percentage of power to veto some of these decisions. But in SVB's bank, in SVB's case, it was two individuals who held the majority of power. So they controlled what to say, how to say it, and most importantly, what decisions are being made. And for me, that raises a huge alarm bells, especially as a communicator, because if two people hold that power, how do I ensure that they're being ethical about it? How do I communicate even that, for example? So sorry, yeah. So this is why the topic of SVP, the topic of Signature Bank collapsing as well. You know, there's so many other banks that followed after that, and it was purely because of the G aspect. Because Kanchan, I'm hoping now you can hear us properly. What are your thoughts around the importance of governance, especially for you as a fintech, as a startup? How do you put governance ahead of everything else when you start a fintech?
I'm sorry about the audio. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, much better. Yes,
Perfect.
thank you.
Perfect. So yes, governance is extremely important. And like you said, in a larger organization, you would typically assume that the power is split between different board member and executive team. In smaller organization like ours, it becomes difficult. However, we still do that by having non-executive members having an oversight on our key decisions. For example, chairman of our board is a non-executive member, but they have complete oversight and they oversee our decisions on a weekly basis, every key decision that we take. And he is an ex-banker in the US. So our compliance reports to the board and not to us, not to me. The head of compliance reports to the board. So we have put together this compliance structure. And the reason for that is actually very selfish, right? The reason is because I want Truly Financial to thrive. And in order to thrive, we have to avoid wrong decisions, which may not be in bad faith, which could just be wrong decisions, right? And how do you avoid that? Is by giving an oversight to people who are not involved in day-to-day decision making, because they have a different view possibly, and they can possibly challenge your view, and they can tell you there's an alternative that you need to look at before you make that decisions.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we've just started now looking into our board, and as a B Corp certified organization, when you're a B Corp, you need a board. You have to have a board. Yeah. So I'm now looking at assembling board members for Communique, and as you say, it's not because I wake up one day and say I'm going to make a bad decision. It's because I'm so engrossed into the day-to-day operations. I need that external accountability for me that would hold me accountable for the work I'm doing. But what was fascinating about the Silicon Valley Bank is that Greg Becker, the CEO, I mean, that is actually sitting on the board of the San Francisco Federal Reserve. And I was thinking, how is that even doable? How is that even acceptable in any way, shape, or form? But anyways, that's me just being annoyed by the lack of governance. So back to Truly Financial now. So how are you helping founders who have been affected by this collapse?
So there are two kinds of things that we managed to do here. One, our job at that point in time was to ensure that accounts get opened really fast, because they needed another account where the money could move in freely without a limit. And second, they needed an account which could be used for receiving payment from their customers, making payroll out, paying the suppliers, and running business on a day-to-day basis. So the first thing which we did was that we really put together a team, cross-functional team, to ensure that if there's anything breaks at any point in time, everyone is available, all hands on the deck to ensure account opening goes smoothly. We were opening accounts every 10 minutes. Wow. In any case, our account opening process, online process, is not more than 10 to 15 minutes. You can fill up the form, but there is a process of review. We needed to ensure that the entire process of review happens quickly enough. We were opening account every 10 to 15 minutes. Our team literally got to sleep maybe 2 to 3 hours a day, every day for next 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. When bank opened and Fed said that, all this thing is, all the deposits are insured and they are safe, is when our team literally took a sigh of relief and said, that's great, now we can catch a nap. But we needed to ensure that we opened hundreds of accounts in those 4 days. That was one. Second thing, which was critically important, was while we are opening these many accounts at such an alarming rate, which we have never done that before, none of the systems break, not just from a technology point of view, but from our compliance and internal controls perspective, because you don't want a bad actor to get in that stream of customers which are coming in, where they would take advantage of anything because of the volume. Now, we understand that large part where banks fail is when they try to do things very fast and their systems are not capable of doing it, and which is when we have seen larger banks, I won't take names here, but larger banks have failed and they have been fined for their anti-money laundering policies and all of that, or not complying with them. It's not because of bad faith, I would like to believe. It's just because the systems failed. So we needed to ensure that our systems don't fail, we don't compromise anything while we are giving them excellent service to our customers. And that part has continued even now. So while the volume of customer account opening has gone down, however, we are still now being seen as a preferred partner for smaller businesses to global business.
Okay, so I was thinking in my mind, when you're saying you're opening an account every 10 minutes, how are you ensuring that your due diligence is up to scratch?
Absolutely.
That's worrying for me.
Absolutely. Very, very valid point. And like I said, that was extremely worrying for me as well, right? That are we doing enough in terms of our following our own procedures? So one of the things that we do when we set up compliance policies and procedures is to ensure that we not only have a documented procedure, but we also have a procedure to ensure that those procedures are being followed. So we had to put that procedure in place as well, which was basically an audit to do. And we completely audited everything which happened, and we were right. And the reason why we were right, we were doing absolutely how we said we would do things, or we have promised our regulators how we would do things, is because we have made everything completely automated in terms of gathering of data. So for example, if you open an account, we need to validate that you're a valid company. We need to validate who are the people who own the company. We need to identify all of the controlling parties, and even who owns more than 25% stake in the company, or any executives and officers. And we need to do ID verification. Yeah. All that process is completely online. However, and then there is a lot of data point which I can't share here for security reasons, that we collect on the business to ensure that these businesses are right and legit businesses, and they are not into something which is illegal business, or none of the controlling parties have any red flags against their name. While all the data is being filled up, we collect all of that data in the background, and then it goes through a filtration process where our system filters it out. And if it finds a red flag, it flags it off to a human being, which they look at with additional data point and say whether this was a false positive, false flag, or it was a real flag. And if it is a real flag, more questions will be asked. Those accounts will not be open in 10 minutes or 15 minutes.
Okay, and what size of businesses are you able to handle? Does it need to be, so what's the biggest size of business that your system can serve, basically?
So there are two parts to it. One is the account opening part. Account opening part, we prefer businesses which do not have very complex cap table structure. So for example, we don't open public company accounts. We don't have the capability to open accounts of public companies, right? Or stock exchange listed companies, because the diligence on them is very different diligence. So we open account only for privately held companies. It could be VC funded companies. It could be single owner LLC. It could just be an agency with just one person running it and 5 contractors. It could be a complete range. Our ideal is really anyone which has got anywhere between 5 employee to 55 employee. 50 employee is what range that we typically work with. They're the ideal customer base. Beyond that, there are a lot of banks which will possibly serve you. However, the fact is that we have customers who are 250 employees and they say, I love your product and I just want to stay here because all my employees get to use this.
Okay. And okay, that's actually interesting, because, for example, one of the products that you're offering is helping international transactions, and especially with countries that normally it's very difficult to bank with. So when it comes to me, for example, as Communique, our team all of us are, all of them actually, none of them are based in a developed country. Everyone is underdeveloped countries. So when you were talking to me about the services that you were providing and how you can help me pay my team and not get charge a horrendous amount of interest rate, because I bank with a big institution here, which is a big mistake, I must admit. But I was a novice at that time. I was new. I didn't know that fintechs can help me. Hence, now I'm into the space more and more. But every time I'm paying someone who's not in a developed country, I have to pay at least £25 just for that transfer.
Yeah.
Which I personally would prefer keeping it and giving it to that person, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So so can you explain to us in very simple terms, how do you help companies like myself who have 0 employees in developed countries get access to our employees and pay our employees? How do you do that? What's the system behind it?
Yeah, so there are 2 ways in which we do that. One is that we have capped our wire transfer fee to $10. That's a flat fee that we charge. It's not linked to how much amount you transfer. It's not $5. It's not $40. It's not $100 ever. It's 25. It's $10 flat fee. That's one, and we ensure that money goes to 200 countries in the world that money can go, which is a regular wire transfer. However, there is still, the wire transfers have inherent problem, which is a systemic problem. Is when you send, let's say, $1,000 to someone in Nigeria, you do not know exactly how much they would receive in naira, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes. So
what we have done to bypass that is built our proprietary payment network, which covers right now 50 countries, which we are adding more countries as we speak, and hopefully we will cover 200 countries in the next few years. But where you can actually send just for $5 flat fee, you can say, I want 10,000 Nigerian nairas to reach, and they will receive 10,000 Nigerian nairas, exact amount. And that's something that we ensure, which means you pay less. There is no intermediate bank fee which is deducted, and they get the exact amount of money in their local currency. And that's what we really pride on, because this is something which none of the banks, mainstream banks, offer. And we believe that, like you said, smaller businesses are more far and wide spread out, and they need an ability to be able to reach all their team members anywhere in the world.
I agree. And what I love,
the other thing that we do is that we also issue corporate cards to each of these team members. So, for example, you have a team member sitting in Indonesia who needs to spend $20 to run a particular campaign somewhere, right? They don't need to come and ask you to put your card number. They get the card number, which has their own limits assigned from which they can spend, and you have full visibility of that.
And is that not something already in place with other organizations?
Most large banks would not do that, because they would not issue it to your team members outside of the country. That is one. And most large banks require to be able to give you a corporate expense card. Again, not naming names, but to give you a corporate expense card, they expect you to have certain high volume of transactions before they can give you a corporate expense card to your team members.
Okay, no, that's interesting. I didn't know about that. Okay, so what's next for Truly Financial? So now you've supported a lot and several businesses. What's the vision? How are you going to take these businesses with you now during your growth period?
3 things we are very focused on. One, ensuring that each of our customers get the same level of service like you would get with a large institution, which gives you a private client service to a large corporate, right? White glove service. One, we ensure that every customer get that. We have to do a lot to really meet our own expectations of the kind of service that we want to provide. That's one. Second, ensure that our product has a much wider reach. Right now, we are taking companies which are incorporated only in North America. Soon, we are going to be taking companies incorporated elsewhere in the world as well. For example, UK and Europe, they would be able to sign up for Truly Financial. And in UAE and India, they would be able to sign up for Truly Financial. So that's the second thing. Third thing, we want to ensure that our proprietary payment network that we spoke about right now is 50 countries. Within the end of the year, we want to be at 100 countries. That if you have team member any of those 100 countries, anywhere in Asia, Middle East, Africa, LATAM, you should be able to pay them in their local currency. There are three things that we are completely focused on at this point in time while we keep growing the business.
Okay, I received a private question here, and that is, when the founders of SVP came to you and they were distraught, of course, with the collapse, what was the main worry? Was it the fact that they don't have access to their funds, or was it the fact that they wanted to make sure that they pay their employees and customers? What was the main worry for them when they came to you?
So there are, like I said, majority of founders who came to us were smaller companies. They may not have like $10 million sitting in the bank account. Their first biggest concern was, how do I make payroll this Friday?
Yeah.
Right? Not paying your employees on time is a crime, right? So how do you make payroll on time? How do I continue running my business without a bank account? That was the first and foremost thing. Unless you had $10 million where they were worried about, oh my God, how much of that $10 million we'll actually be able to recover. Majority of smaller businesses were just concerning about their day-to-day business running properly. And of course, getting whatever money was stuck, which were helping them get out fast.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, for me personally, if God forbid this happens to me, I would be more worried about paying my employees. That's the first thing. It would be my employees and my suppliers. That would be the number one worry. It's not access to my funds as per se. It's how do I pay my debt?
Absolutely.
I think, yeah. I mean, I'm sure you can relate to that as well as a founder. It's the responsibility that comes with it. And this takes me back again to the importance of governance. If I don't have the processes in place, and I wonder actually if as a small business, we actually think about collapsing of our banks as a risk. I don't think we ever thought about that as a risk, if that makes sense.
For a very long time, in most of the larger economies, we do not think about a bank collapsing. I mean, the whole point about the word bank is that you trust someone, you bank on someone, bank on something. That's what bank has evolved to be, right? That you bank on someone, bank on something. So if you can't bank on your bank, who else can you bank on?
Well, this is the thing. And there's also another risk that I don't think SMEs like us think about as well. And that is the risk of climate change.
Yeah.
And the impact it has on our operations and our business. And this is something I think we really need to start thinking seriously about, because if we are based, so if you're an SME, but you just, let's say, work or you have a warehouse in a place next to a river or a water, for example, you need to think of what would be the risk of climate change that would affect the water level, or maybe can affect your warehouse, can affect your operations. And I don't think we think about these things.
No. And also, as a smaller companies, as a younger generation comes into businesses, they are more aware of the climate change, but people from a older generation, they've taken things for granted, unfortunately. And to a large degree, I come from the same generation. The younger generation today is a lot more aware, and when they get into business, they are a lot more cautious about how they are impacting the environment. For example, using the right kind of packaging, excessive packaging, carbon footprint. We think about that quite a lot in terms of the banks that we work with, because we are not a bank ourselves. We work with banks in multiple countries which hold the customer funds. Yeah. We think about it ourselves as to how sustainable our banks are, and sustainable from an environmental sense as well.
Well, this is the thing. The majority of our fintech clients are coming to us and asking us to help them with integrating ESG within their business model. A, because either they're going through a scale-up phase and the investors are asking them these questions. And B, it's because to work with an institutional bank and especially one that in a country that's present and its ESG regulation is heavy on them, they will expect from you as their supplier and partner to live and breathe ESG, same as they are. And that's also a commercial risk. So from a commercial point of view, you actually might lose clients purely because you're not adhering to ESG.
Absolutely. I hope someday we would, and we are working towards that, we get to a stage where we can proudly say we are B certified, B Corp, certified Corp. However, in our own small way, we do work. When we work with our partners, we look at what is their exposure to, for example, fossil fuel industry. Can we work with them? Do we have an alternative? Many times we don't have an alternative. When we go to a particular country and we find only one bank willing to work with us, we don't have a choice and we need to work with them because we need to extend our network to those countries. But as soon as we have a choice, we do switch.
Yes, because so as a B Corp certified organization, I was asked about the bank I bank with. And even though the bank does has its flaws, we were happy with our research on that bank, and we found that they do balance the flaws in other ways. So that was a good outcome for us. But that doesn't mean I'm happy with my bank, by the way. So it does not mean anything. Anyways, Kanchan, if someone wants to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Two things. You can write to me at Kanchan, Kanchan, at Truly Financial, TRULY financial.com. That's my email ID. I look at every email. I reply to that. On LinkedIn, look me up, Kanchan Kumar. I accept every genuine request which comes my way. I understand bot from a mile away, so I would not accept bot requests. But every genuine request I look at, and if there's an ask if you're not selling me something, if there's an ask in your LinkedIn message, I would reply to that. On Twitter, I'm Kanchan Kumar, one word. That's my Twitter handle.
Thank you, Kanchan. And you know what? You need to teach me about this bot thing. I get so many requests, and I'm being bombarded at the moment with sales and stuff. Anyways, thank you once again for joining us and for sharing with us how you are trying your best to save the day. And what I love about what you've said is that you're a small SME but helping your fellow SMEs, and for me that's what makes the difference. There are some unsung heroes out there that we need to celebrate. So if you do have anything to say or to showcase to the world, and you are, joining us today, please do reach out to us. We would love to feature you, and we would love to talk about your work. Kanchan, thank you so much. Thank you for today.
Thank you for having me here. Really appreciate it.
Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.